You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com, thechrisvossshow.com. Welcome to the big show, our family and friends, the Chris Voss Show family, the family that loves you but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as that one time you took apart your dad's watch and then you couldn't put it back together, and you showed him how great you were at achieving on doing his favorite watch, and he beat you silly and grounded you for a month, which is what my dad did when the two of us tried to do it, me and my brother. But that's a different story for another time and another show. Today we're doing instead of doing brain bleeding, we're gonna do some fire. We're gonna do some fire on the Chris Voss Show, as they like to. The kids say it that way, I think. So we're gonna be talking about fire, and if that doesn't cook you up and light you up, and I don't know, I need some more metaphors for fire. You're just gonna have to deal with it. You're just gonna be burnt to a crisp at this show. That's basically it. So I think you're gonna enjoy it, and if not, see the front desk for refunds. Today we have an amazing gentleman on the show, and we'll be talking to him about some of the cool stuff that he does, motivation, etc., etc. But first, make sure that you go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, and Chris Voss 1 on the Tickety Talking. Subscribe to that LinkedIn podcast newsletter. That thing is killing it over there. It just grows like a weed. Like every day I go in and I'm like, who the hell keeps subscribing to this thing? I thought we used everybody on LinkedIn, but evidently there's definitely a few thousand people on LinkedIn. So there you go. This gentleman comes to us today, and he is with his company. If I can find the right tab here, Dave Albin joins us today. His company is called Firewalk Productions LLC, or as it's known in certain countries, Firewalk. I don't know. That's a horror. That's not even funny, Chris. Anyway, guys, he went to work. It's kind of funny. Yeah, that's what we do on the show. We just kind of half die, half kill on the show, and hopefully it's funny. So he went to work. Dave did to the personal development industry by attending a seminar with Tony Robbins in 1995, where he did his first Firewalk. Tony Robbins, there you go. Dave went to work for him just shy of 20 years as Tony's Firework. I'm not sure if I'm reading that right. Dave went to work for Tony Robbins, and he was just shy of 20 years as Tony's Firewalk captain, and he retired from the Anthony Robbins companies in 2014, shortly after Google hired him to put on an event for him, because we know how Google likes to cook people. Have you seen my search history lately?
That's right.
There you go. I think he hired them to put Google Plus out of business, burn them down. His company, Firewalk Productions LLC, was born in 2014. He's done gigs for NASA, Heineken, the Entrepreneurs Organization, Remax, Chick-fil-A. That's how they cook the chicken over there. Prove It, Google, NC Corporate Chiropractic Association. I believe that's North Carolina. I'm not sure who NI is, though. North Illinois. I think that's what it is. Isogen, Heineken, Boone, Blowing Rock, Ash, and Caldwell County Chamber of Commerce. Wayne Dyer. We've all heard of him. YMCA, Tony Robbins, and many others. Welcome to the show. How are you, Dave?
Hey, Chris. Thanit's for having me, man.
There you go.
I'm stoked to be here. That's it. If we're going to talk fire, right?
There you go. I think you have Heineken twice in your.
Do I?
Yeah, you got it twice in your bottle.
I only have 2.
Yeah, you got to make sure you're not drinking this stuff while you're writing out the bio. So welcome to the show. You are the number one Firewalk instructor in America.
There you go. Well, it sounds right. That's what they wrote.
Now, this is a great way to pick up chicks at the bar, I think. So give us a .com. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Firewalkadventures.com. It's all there.
Firewalkadventures.com. So give us, I've kind of thrown it around a little bit, but give us a 30,000 overview of what you guys do over there.
We create some of the most powerful, life-changing, paradigm shift experiences in America.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's simply put, team building is team building, right? But if you don't get people up off their butt and do something, what doesn't challenge you doesn't change you, Chris. We all know that.
That's
so
true.
That's where it really, when I did my Firewalk, I learned very quickly that it was literally one of the most life-changing experiences of my entire life.
There you go.
And it shifted me. Yeah.
And it made a major shift for you. Now,
big time.
Why, how old is Firewalking? As a thing in America.
I mean, you can, if we research it, we'll hear as far back as 1,000 years. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So if you look at the cultures around the world, Firewalking was used as a rite of passage. It's a graduation. It's a point of, for marriages and, manhood and womanhood. And so if we look at the Phoenicians and the people of India and the Polynesians, the Hawaiians, the Native American Indians, the Indo-Europeans, heck, the people of Portugal, Spain, all over the world has been used as a rite of passage.
I think those people in Pompeii started Firewalking, eh?
They did. Yeah, they probably used a little too much wood.
Something there. That's too soon there for the people of Pompeii. I apologize. I hope nobody's heard this related.
We forgive you. Yeah,
there you go. I know in Hawaii, when those big volcanoes, go on, you could probably learn to firewalk really well as you're trying to run away from the volcano.
We did. Not just did we Tony's one of the last life mastery did the 40-foot firewalk we did on the Big Island on the Kona side at the Waikoloa Hotel. Yeah, so we've done several on the Big Island.
When did you do your first firework? Were you attending a Tony Robbins seminar?
Yeah.
And what year was your first?
95.
Holy crap. Wow.
Yeah. Way back.
And so what did you think? Because a lot of people approach us like, this sounds like it's going to burn my feet.
I said no. I wanted to go see Tony, but I was like, I'm not going to do that Firewalk thing. That's bullshit. That's insane. Why would anybody do that? In fact, when I first heard the term Firewalk, I didn't even know what that meant. I had no references for that.
Uh-huh.
And, you get to a Tony event and he starts, he took the stage at 2. And the next thing I know, Chris, it's after midnight. I've been in a room for 10 hours with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden he goes, take your shoes off. And I'm like, oh no, sorry, pal, you're not tricking me. No, we're not doing that. Here's my dilemma. I'm in a room with 3,500 people.
Uh-huh.
Guess what they're doing? They're taking their damn shoes off.
Wow.
So now I either don't take my shoes off and everybody's going to know I'm a chicken shit, or, I take my shoes off and just fake it and go out there and hide in the back. That was my plan. And that's what I went for. However, it gets worse because when Tony takes you out into this big parking lot with 3,500 people, guess what he gets everybody to do before they go out there?
What?
They start chanting and clapping. So everybody's walking out there. Yes. And it gets worse. Because when you get out there, he's got African drummers.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So then it's dun, 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 dun. People are clapping. And how do you set this up? Well, they start a big fire early in the day. And that fire's huge. It's like it's 35 feet wide, 70 feet long. And they throw tons of wood on it. I mean, just cord after cord, probably 10, 15 cords of wood.
Wow.
And so then at the end of the evening, it renders. And that's what they do. That's what they use. So what they do is they take a bunch of wheelbarrows over to that big pit. They load those coals in a wheelbarrow. Then they bring a wheelbarrow in between 2 lanes of sod, of grass. They call it a fire lane. Give it 3 feet wide, 15 to 18 feet long. And then they just take a flathead shovel and they sprinkle those coals on top of that grass. And that's what you walk on.
Wow. Now, how do you not get burned?
I don't know. People ask me all the time. I'm like, I don't have a clue, man. Why does everybody ask me, right? I just know that I walked on coals that were 1,000 degrees. I didn't burn myself, and I didn't have a clue how.
Wow.
I just know that I did it.
Wow.
Here's what I will tell you, though. When you get ready to go and you take that first step, you'll take the second, third, fourth, and fifth. I promise.
Yeah, you're going to keep moving. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to keep moving.
Yeah.
And so now you're in the celebration end with, a couple thousand people who are all jumping up and down. It's exhilarating, Chris.
Yeah.
It is like, I can do anything after I do that. It's like, right? It's like, where's the bus? Let's go. Where's Everest? Come on, people. We got something to do here.
Yeah.
And but where it got interesting for me, yes, the celebration was phenomenal, but was the next day. The Firewalk's a 4-day event. He does it on day one, the night of, and then day two. This is where it got pretty interesting for me, is that when we all came in that next morning, we're standing in the foyer getting ready to go into the venue. And there's 3,500 people. And I've never seen or witnessed anything like this in my life. People were so getting along with each other. It was so humanistic.
Wow.
People are laughing and they're crying and they're hugging and they're talking about the Firewalk and they're talking about their fears. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because, obviously we drank the Kool-Aid the night before.
Yeah.
And, right. So all of us collectively, you get your self-worth, your self-confidence, and your self-belief, and it's elevated. That's why Tony uses it on day one.
Yeah.
Because then he's got you for day 2, day 3, and day 4.
And it kind of minimalizes your fears and phobias and different things you have. Like you kind of look at it and go, geez, everything else is kind of peanuts compared to what I just did.
It's magic. It's just, there's a magical something about the fire being the element. And when you look down at those coals and they're bright red, you got fight or flight going on. It's not a question if they're hot, right? And plus there's the wheelbarrow there, so you can feel the heat from that.
Yeah.
I mean, when I did my first Firewalk, I literally thought my heart was going to jump out of my chest. I was scared to death. But then 4 seconds later, I'm jumping up and down like I'd won, the lottery. I mean, it's even more than that. It's such an exhilarating feeling.
This is crazy.
The next day, after, we all went in, later on, I met one of Tony's trainers, a guy by the name of Ted Macy. Sweet dude, great guy. Him and his wife, Mary, both trainers for Tony. And I'm talking to him and I'm like, so you get to come into this environment and be around all this motivation and inspiration on a regular basis. Must be freaking awesome. And he's like, oh, God, yeah. Oh, I get to come here, 8-10 times a year. And he says, hey, let's say, look, see those people standing over there with the black shirts? I'm like, yeah. With the pink writing on the back? Yeah. He goes, dude, they're volunteers. They're just like you. They came, they did a Firewalk, and now they volunteer their time, which Tony uses about 300 of them per event. And he said, so, when you get home, call Robbins Research. Get an application, fill it out. Who knows? And I did. And 9 weeks after I filled that bad boy out, I got a letter in the mail that said, Dave Albin, congratulations. You've been selected to crew at the Anthony Robbins Company.
Wow.
Well, holy mackerel. Now my foot's in the door. And so they look at, the application's got, like 5 pages. So it looks at who you are and what you do and what you're capable of. And then they kind of decide where they're going to put you in that crew. Well, I had a security background and a military background. So they put me on the security team to help take care of Tony's celebrities. Oh, hell, I can do a whole show on that alone. I mean, that was awesome.
I'll bet.
And then because I lived on a farm, they knew I knew how to use tools, a hatchet, log splitter. They put me on the fire team, which is right where I wanted to go.
There you go.
And there I was. So,
and then do you eventually move up and start running his services, or were you just on the crew when Google approached you?
No, I was. I crewed like 5 or 6 times, which cost me $2,000 every time I did it.
Really?
Right? You got to pay your way when you're a volunteer.
Oh wow!
And my wife didn't like that. She's like, "Well, this is bullshit. Hold on a second. You're spending $2,000 every time you're going. No, who the hell is this Tony Robbins guy?"
Have you ever had her do the Firewalk?
Well, what happened was they entered his position, and so when they did that, they gave me a free ticket, and so I took my wife, and she went. She went through the whole event,
and then she walked the fire, and she was like,
"Oh
okay.
yeah."
Now
we took a walk on the beach at the end of the event, and she looked at me and she goes, "Okay, I get it. I drank the Kool-Aid. This Tony Robbins guy's rocks. You want to run with this guy? Go,
said, baby."
All right. So she did. That's all I needed.
What a life-changing event!
Oh my gosh! Yeah. I mean, and then in 2003, Tony offered me the captain's position to take over all of his Firewalks globally, and because I was homeschooling, he said, "Hey, we'll even pay to have your family travel with us." And so my kids and, we got to go on the road. Hell, their first event was Sydney, Australia.
Yeah. That's got to be fun hanging out with Tony. I mean, he seems like he's pretty motivational.
Yeah, he's a pretty inspirational guy. And there's a lot of people in his world. Proximity's everything there.
Yeah.
Are just some of the most phenomenal human beings I've ever met my entire life.
There you go. So tell us about your origin story. How did you grow up? There's you're here in 2023. You're marking 35 years of sobriety. Congratulations! I've got some friends that have their coins, and And I know what a challenge that can be. But tell us about your upbringing, your history. How did you get down this road?
Well, a couple of months before I was born, my biological father had hurt his head. Somehow they put a plate in it to save his life. And apparently it was very, very painful. And he was constantly telling my mother that he didn't know how much longer he could take it. And unfortunately, 2 months before I was born, he told her he was going to the grocery store, and we never saw or heard from him again.
Really?
So when I was born, I had two half brothers. My mother had two other boys from another marriage. She was living with my grandmother and another cousin. So there were six of us living in a one-bedroom apartment in Hollywood, California. And mom was working up the street at the Roosevelt Hotel as a server. Now, my mom's, a product of the greatest generation that ever walked the face of the earth, in my humble opinion. They went through the Depression. They went through World War II. When all the men were away during that time fighting the war, guess what? Who was home taking care of everything? The women. So my mother was affectionately known. My biological mother was affectionately known as Rosie the Riveter. She worked for McDonnell Douglas. She was building airplanes. She was up on the wing hammering those rivets in, right? So she knew hard work. She knew the Depression. But the problem was for her is that even as hard as she worked, there wasn't enough. You just couldn't feed all six of us.
Wow.
And so when I was 5, she went to her older sister. She was a family of 8. And she went to her older sister and she said, "Will you adopt David?" And Bob and Pat Albin said, "Yes, we'll definitely do it."
Wow.
And so they adopted me, my aunt and uncle, and took me to Long Beach, California. And that's where I was raised. Wow. And then that was I was 5. Everything was great, Chris. It was a wonderful life. Camping, Yosemite, Big Bear, Arrowhead, you name it. I was like, it was a dream come true. And then on the first day of summer, 1964, they brought me in the kitchen. Pat set me down with tears in her eyes. She looked at me and she said, "David, we need to tell you something. And what we need to tell you is we're not your parents." Okay. Well, what the hell does that mean at 11 years old? Of course you're my parent, right? It's like walking out saying, "Hey, the sky's not blue. Well, it looks pretty blue to me." And, they looked like my parents to me. So that's when my life took a hard turn.
Wow.
Shortly after they told me, they both started drinking. Now, Bob Albin, my uncle, who is my dad at that point, he's military, highly decorated in World War II, career military officer, Army, National Guard. So we lived in a nice house. We had nice things. But when he started drinking and Pat started drinking, it got ugly really, really fast.
Wasn't that fun kind of drinking, huh?
Yeah, Pat was okay. My mom was okay, but Dad was not. He was vicious. He was ugly, mean, nasty. And so, I never wanted to be in the house. I was constantly somewhere other than wanting to put up with all that crap. I was a gatekeeper. I had to go into the bars, get him out. I mean, all the alcoholism.
Oh, wow.
Well, they went to the store one day. Back in those days, you left your kids home. Nobody cared, right? It was like it was okay, right? And so they went to the grocery store, and I knew where the booze was. They hid it in plain sight, and I wanted to know what the hell this shit was. I don't know. I just saw these two beautiful people turn into not such nice people by drinking the shit. And so I went over, grabbed it. It was a half gallon of brandy.
Wow.
And I poured it in a coffee cup, half full, and I downed it. And Chris, I never had a chance. I was an alcoholic right on the spot.
Damn.
I started thinking alcoholically, acting alcoholically. It was like pouring rocket fuel into me. And I have alcoholism throughout my entire family. So it just, it didn't spare me. I can tell you that. And so things, at that point, when you start drinking at 11, 12 years old, next thing you know, you get hanging out with the wrong people, and then drugs show up on the scene. And hell, by the time I was a junior in high school, they brought me in the principal's office one day and said, "Albin, out, we're done with you." But I had an entrepreneurial spirit. And so when I got kicked out of high school, I didn't care. It didn't bother me at all. It didn't worry me, nothing. In fact, there was a song back in those days written by Paul Simon. And some of the lyrics were, "When I think back of all the crap I learned in high school, it's a wonder I can think it all." Right? Remember that?
You and me, yeah.
So, again, my entrepreneurial spirit, I had a paper route, right? You're running your own business. I lived across the street from a golf course. I used to ride my bike around the perimeter and find golf balls and then sell them back to the golfers in the parking lot. My mom grew beautiful flowers in the backyard. She put those together for me, and I sold them out on the street corner. So my belief system at a very young age was, there's money out there. Go get it. Hustle. And so that's and I've been hustling, and, my entrepreneurial spirit has been going strong ever since. I'm not employable. I'm just not.
You and me. I think that's the one thing about almost entrepreneurs, especially ones that have been doing it for. We're not employable. I mean, we've been, entrepreneurs for so long. We don't work well with others or for other people.
No, we don't.
And especially when you come across really bad leaders, you're just like, are you fucking serious? Like, this is how you do things around your office? Have you ever read a book on leadership? Do you even know it?
Really?
Do you even know how to spell it? So let me ask you this. You're grossly addicted to drugs and alcohol. When did you sober up and make the realization to, I guess, join AA and make that first step?
That happened on June 8th, 1988. Wow. So I'm in my third marriage. I'm married to a woman who's got 3 kids, or my stepkids. Wow. I'm living in the basement. They're upstairs. They want nothing to do with me. Wow. And when I woke up on June 8th, 88, I said, that's it. We're done. I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. I was in so much pain, Chris. Yeah. The emotional pain, the physical pain, the struggle of having to drink and drugs. And, it was just bad. And so I said, okay, well, I'm done. So the pain stops today. So my only thought in that moment was put a bullet in my head. And as I'm loading and ready to do that, putting the pistol in my mouth, I go, wait a minute, hold on a second. You pull that trigger and maybe your problems are over. But those 3 kids upstairs that you love and care about, you're going to kill them with that same bullet. Wow. You can't do that. You just can't. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a jerk. Can you imagine what that's going to do to them? Yeah. I didn't even know what PTSD was back then, but it would have so ruined their life. And so I said, so come up with another plan, pal. Figure something else out. And all of a sudden, the next thought I had was, we'll call Alcoholics Anonymous.
There you go.
But you know what, Chris? I didn't know who the hell AA was. I'd never been to a meeting. I didn't know anybody who was in AA. Where the hell did that come from? I had no idea, other than divine, intervention, where, that name, Alcoholics Anonymous, popped in my head. So I called them. And I got this wonderful human being on the phone. I nicknamed her Madge. And the reason I did is because she talked like this. She smoked 2 packs of Pall Mall non-filters a day. Wow. She was a badass, man. But she was a gatekeeper, right? Her job is to interview you and see if you're worthy of her calling somebody to come pick your happy ass up. And so she did. And she called a guy named Lauren. He came and got me, took me to, he stayed with me all day. I went to a 12:30, 4:30, a 6:30, and an 8:30 meeting. And when I was there, they took a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and they wrote in it. It was an all men's group. And so they wrote in there in the book on the front cover, before you take that first drink, call one of us. And then they put their first name and their phone number. And they sent me home with that. And one day turned into 2 turned into a week turned into a month, and I got one of these. It said 1 month. And then I got one for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 1 year. Well, where the personal development part of this showed up was I had insomnia. So I'm up late at night all the time. Hell, my sleep patterns were all over the place. Yeah. And sure enough, there he is, 1988. Mr. Enthusiasm, Mr. Gunthy Ranker, who owned the airways at nighttime. There he is, a young Tony Robbins selling personal power, a 30-day program for total success, the man called it. And sure enough, he said a couple things that I really didn't like the guy, to be candid. What a pompous asshole this guy is. Right? He's all motivated and shit, and I'm not motivated. But he got me, Chris. He got me a couple times. One of the things he said was, we'll do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. I'm like, well, hell, that's why I drank. That's why I used drugs. I was either chasing pleasure or trying to avoid pain. But what really got me, he said, the driving force in our life, how we make decisions, is we do them out of inspiration or desperation. I thought, shit, I'm pretty desperate. Maybe I should listen to this guy. There you go. So I did. Broke out my American Express card, bought the program. They sent it to me in a big box, and it came on these little white things called cassette tapes.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember those? 8 tracks, reel to reel.
I got a lot of the Nightingale Conant things. I think I was on a subscription with Nightingale Conant. Remember that?
Oh, were you really?
Yeah.
Oh, you were all in.
Oh, I was all in. Yeah. In fact, I got records of some of the really old guys. Napoleon Hill and stuff. My dad had records.
Norman Vincent Peale.
Yep. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Zig Ziglar, of course. Yeah.
Zig Ziglar. And I forget who the radio guy was.
Tommy Hopkins?
Not Tommy. There was a big radio guy who was really into motivational. It wasn't the Acres of Diamonds guy, but I forget. But I have I think it's the secrets of I don't know. I'd have to pull it up, but yeah. So congratulations, 35 years of sobriety, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
work. I know for some people it's a day-to-day battle. Now you run your own company. You've been running it for 20 years now?
No, well, I was with Tony almost 20 years, but I started Firewalk Productions in 2014.
2014. Okay, there you go.
And that came at the advice of when I went to Google and I did that gig for them, they wanted to do a firewalk and they wanted to do it in the middle of the day. I said, nope, we don't do firewalks in the middle of the day. It's a safety concern. But I tell you what we can do. We could do it. We could do a glass walk. And they're like, what? A glass walk? Like walking on broken glass? I'm like,
what?
Yep. They're like, ooh, tell us about that. So shit. Next thing I know, there I am. Well, one of the Google executives, after the glass walk, we're sitting there, we're having lunch. They're having a couple of beers after the event and all that, and turns to me and he said, hey, man, listen. He goes, I don't know if you noticed or not, but you're at the top of your game. He said, there's a huge marketplace for corporate team building at your level. So I know you work for Tony, and that's all great. He said, but you may want to think about starting your own gig because there's a marketplace out. There's a huge marketplace for you out there. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting in Mountain View, and a Google executive is telling me that I should start my own business with corporate team building. Maybe I should listen to this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did. I went back to Tony and said, hey, man, I need to talk to you after the event. And so we sat in the green room, and I said, hey, man, I just did a gig for Google. And he goes, yeah, you're leaving, aren't you? Yeah, I am. And you're in good shape, man. You don't need me anymore, Tone. I've been with you for 20 years. You got a half a dozen people out there in that parking lot that can do my job. So you're good.
There you go. So talk to us about what you do now. Looks like you have the Glasswalk experience. You have the Firewalk experience. And you, I guess, put these on for corporate events and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. You know what I did? I took the Firewalk to another level. I'm going to go ahead and give myself kudos for this and a pat on the back. I brought the board break experience into it. Right. So board break, right? Think martial arts, think dojos, think moving from a white belt to a yellow belt. What do? You break a board with your hand. You break a board with your elbow, your knee, your foot, whatever. And so they've been using it in the martial arts for years. Well, I decided to bring it in, but here's what I do with it. I take the board and I have them write something on front of the board they want to move towards. I have them write something on back of the board they need to move away from. And then I have them write anybody's name on that board that they're in conflict with. Right. So if forgiveness or reconciliation is part of that relationship, that shit ends tonight. Quit carrying around resentments about another human being. It does not serve you. Wow. And then to create the rite of passage, I have them write anybody's name on the board that they've lost. Right. Oh. So then we go out in the parking lot. I set up the board break stations. We break the boards. We walk them in a circle. Then we do the firewalk. They come back. They throw their boards into the fire. We get it on video. We get it. We get pictures for them. And then I do a breathing exercise, and I calibrate all of their hearts. So right after the firewalk, I put them in a group and I take them through a process so that all of their hearts start beating at the same time. Really? And then before they leave, I give them one of these. And you can't see it very well as a glare, but it's the Coles from the Firewalk. So it'll say, I Firewalked in 2023 with, XYZ.
Oh, and you get the Coles so you can say, I did it. People are just like, yeah, whatever. You did the Firewalk. I got the Cole right here, man. Yeah,
I did it, right? Here's a picture. Here's a video. Kiss my ass. I did it, right?
I love that, man. This cult's awesome, man. I'm leaving Scientology.
What? L. Ron Hubbard? Oh, come on, man. Dianetics? What are you doing here?
I'm still trying to get clear. I don't even know what the fuck that means, but I don't know what they keep running checks.
That's funny, man. Yeah. I dabbled in it a little bit. I had this really hot chick. I was walking in the park one day and she came up to me and started talking to me. She got me there. So I went through the bull baiting. Huh? Did you?
Oh, yeah. I didn't do the bull baiting. I got suckered in one time on a personality test when I was in I was about 20 or something, and they had a little ad, and they're like, "Hey, you want a personality test?" And I'm like, "I'll take a personality test." Sure. And so I went in. I think they got me for $5 to buy the book, and they're like, "You should come back." And I'm like, "I'll read your book and I'll be back." But I grew up in Mormonism, so I already got hooked by one. I already got suckered by one book.
Oh God! So you were double whammied. Okay.
Yeah, I don't need any more cults. No. We're done with the cults. But I like your cult. This sounds like a good cult. This sounds like it's not. it's not something where, it's the Moonies where I'm going to end up drinking.
It's pretty freaking awesome, Chris.
I love it. I love it.
It's an amazing experience.
What sort of, it's pretty much any company reach out to you and work with you and do business
We've done
with
them
you?
all.
There you go.
I mean, I'm every spectrum. I've done high schools, all the way up to Google. I do a lot of work with the EO organization. I think you know who those guys are, right? Entrepreneurs Organization. I did 5 gigs for them last year. They just booked South Florida. So we love EO. They're all entrepreneurs. They're all very successful. You can't even get in to the Entrepreneurs Organization without being invited, and then you got to show 3 years financials. You got to grossed at least $1 million a year, or they don't even per year. Or they don't even let you in.
There you go. You've worked with NASA. Now here, let me pull this up. I pulled off of it. NASA, Google, Notre Dame, Entrepreneurs Organization, Tony Robbins, the YMCA, Chick-fil-A, Remax. In fact, they probably cooked the. I hear they cooked the Chick-fil-A on the Firewalk.
Come on, man! Chick-fil-A owns the airways when it comes to chicken. Let's just be honest.
There it is. They do make good chicken. Heineken. A few other people on here. I think I see some Huskies.
Count. I don't know. I lost count.
Yeah, you lose count after a while. Well, this is pretty awesome. Hilton, Four Seasons, Snowbird, Marriott, Waldorf Astoria, Embassy Suites. So great things. So what if I'm a corporate executive out there thinking, well, what are my people really going to get from this? It seems obvious, but tell us what you see when companies hire you. What you think the company's net benefit is really going to be?
Well, typically there's three different times a company's going to call me. One, if there's a total breakdown. It is falling through everybody's fighting, the dissension, mask wearing, vaccines, whatever. Everybody's fighting over shit. And so they bring me in, to bail it out. And so the other time they call me is when things are, they're okay. They're not great. They're not bad. Somewhere in between. And then they call me when they're at the top of their game and they want to take it to the next level.
There you go.
So most CEOs realize what doesn't challenge you doesn't change you. You're not going to put a bunch of people in a seminar room and talk to them, for several hours and it changed their life. It's just not going to work like that. Navy SEALs don't become SEALs by sitting in a classroom. They become Navy SEAls by putting their happy ass, in the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, off the coast of San Onofre, and let them swim with sharks for 3 or 4 hours.
Doing Hell Week.
Doing Hell Week. That's what exactly. There you go. Right. So that's really the point. There's got to be emotion and there's got to be motion at the same time. And that's what happens. So you get them up together and, and I saw that at my first event. I saw what it was like. 1,000 people standing down there in the celebration and after the Firewalk, jumping up and down and getting crazy like nothing I'd ever seen. And then the next day, that's when I really knew that it worked. Because I saw the camaraderie. I saw 3,500 people come into that event who didn't know each other, and they were getting along like nothing I'd ever seen or witnessed. And I've never seen it other than my own Firewalks or another Tony Robbins seminar. So it works. It's guaranteed to work. Yeah. And, by the time they get to me, they've done the research. They're like, okay, the big thing is that, they're thinking somebody's going to get hurt. Are we going to get sued? Are we going to get hurt? The liability side, when the attorneys get involved, here's what I can tell you. I've walked close to 500,000 people.
Wow.
Nobody's ever been hospitalized. No one's been sued.
Wow.
It's not that dangerous. You know what's dangerous? Put your kids in soccer.
Hey, that's true. Yeah.
Right? Play football, wrestle.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I know it sounds really dangerous, but what's the worst thing can happen? Burn your foot off and die?
Yeah.
No.
I pulled a hamstring getting off the couch the other day. So
well, don't
do that.
See, now that's serious.
I should have just stayed there. Yeah, definitely. Hey, I got an idea for you. The Firewalk thing is awesome, and then you got the glass walk there. What you need to have for when there's contention in offices, you need to have the plank walk.
Oh no, Legos.
where you basically we all decide, hey, Bob over there's got to walk the plank because his reports suck.
Or I like Legos. Put them on Legos. They'll shut the hell up really fast.
Yeah, there you go. Do the Lego walk. I like that.
We've all stepped on a Lego. You got kids. Every mom out there that's listening right now goes, he's right. I stepped on that damn thing. It hurts.
That should be like a birth control device. Yeah. You think you want to have kids and be a parent? Do the Lego walk first.
Have
prove
kids,
you can do this. You can do anything as a parent.
It's funny,
We're
but
going to
it's not
make you
funny
lose
'cause
sleep for a week first, and then you got to do the Lego
I
walk.
still got a scar on my foot of the damn Lego I stepped on in my son's room.
So you still got a scar of the Lego, and you've done like a million walks on the
Right,
thing.
exactly. Yeah,
So-
Firewalk is no big day.
So companies do a thing when they're trying to motivate people where they do a pizza party. So where's pizza party compared to the Firewalk on the scale? I'm just
Well, there's a lot to be said for a Papa John's pizza. I don't know.
That's true. That's true. But
so
it's kind of become a cliche, I think, in the business world. They make fun of it a lot on LinkedIn, where they're like, "Oh, so we're gonna do another pizza party, huh? Well, morale's down. You get pizza."
we're gonna go golfing this year, and John's gonna win the fucking thing again. He wins it every single year. That bastard.
So, do you have any events that you have coming up that you do just for your stuff, or you only do it when clients have stuff?
No, matter of fact, next Tuesday I have the Dave Albin Firewalk Academy. So I'm up here in the Appalachian Mountains in northwestern North Carolina, and so I got a whole bunch of people coming up, and I'm gonna take them through the academy. So I'm gonna train them all the stuff that I've learned over the last 3 decades.
Oh wow!
So we teach them the firewalking, the board break, the brick break, the arrow break, the rebar bend, the glass walking, all of it. Insurance, how to talk to fire marshals, the whole academy. When they graduate, they can go put on an event.
Oh wow, that's kind of.
But I've got several other events on the books. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I do private firewalks if that's what you're asking.
No,
I've had some celebrities and some athletes, professional athletes, call me.
They're just like,
and they're like, "Hey, would you?" And I go, "Yeah, you want to come up to my cabin in the Appalachian Mountains? I've got an Airbnb room. You stay for a couple of nights, and let's find out what's going on with you, and let's get to it."
There you go. As long as you don't hear banjos on the river, you're okay up there. Whatever. I don't know what that means. Well, this sounds like a lot of fun and a great way to inspire people, build leadership, build team camaraderie. Kind of blow people's minds, get them to that next level thinking and stuff. How can people reach out to you and get to know you, get to try and onboard with you and do business?
Again, just go to firewalkadventures.com. Firewalkadventures is one word.com. It's all there. The academy's there, the glass walk, firewalking, my calendar's there. I'm very accessible. Tell me what's going on with your company. Because I personally, I designed the event around the company and what's going on. If they're launching a product or there's been a breakdown, there's culture upliftings, whatever, let me know what's going on and we'll get to it.
There you go. Well, this sounds awesome. We really appreciate you coming on the show, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I appreciate you having me.
There you go. Man. Burning energy, and you were just on fire for the show.
Yeah, we were. Absolutely.
There you go.
Flame on.
Flame on. There you go. Thanks, Dave, for coming on the show. Thanks, Monis, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and Chris Voss1 on TikTok. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time. There you go.